Appreciate that. We have the preparing live stream on. All right, we are live on YouTube. And that's usually a cue to start. Also have to obviously record this webinar on my computer so that we have a recording to send to you folks after the webinar is done. Recording in progress. When Zoom tells us that, we know it is our cue to start. So as I was telling the folks who were here a little bit earlier, we have a lot of ground to cover in this webinar because these slides turned out to be quite long. It turns out that creating a comprehensive explainer about WhatsApp marketing for banks is actually a lot more ambitious than we initially thought. And when you fall into a rabbit hole about BFSI marketing trends and WhatsApp marketing, it's very hard to get out of that rabbit hole, and it's very hard to not add more and more and more things to your slide deck. So enough with me talking about how long it took us to make the slide deck, and let's actually dive right into it. I trust that you guys can all see my slide deck. Just to confirm, Rivam, you can see my slide deck on the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so as always, we like to start our webinars off with intros. Just so that you guys know who we are, where our knowledge is coming from. As always with these WhatsApp webinars, you have your two regular hosts. My name is Arnav. I'm a content marketer over here at TARS. And my job is to create content just like this, to help you guys get the most out of your customer experience stacks, get the most out of your marketing efforts, get the most out of your customer service efforts. I'm joined today, as always with these WhatsApp webinars, by Ritam Datta from our customer success team. Ritam is out there in the trenches helping you guys implement your WhatsApp and web-based chatbots. He's out there helping you guys see the results that we promise on these webinars. And as always, Ritam, it is an absolute privilege to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Arnav.
Yep. Also, thank you for helping me so much with the preparation for this webinar. I greatly appreciate it. This session, guys, would not have happened and would not be the session that it is today if Ritam had not been helping me organize it. So huge credit to him. If I could hear you guys, I'd ask you to give him a round of applause, but this is Zoom, so we can't do that. Anyways, as a company, TARS has been around since about 2016. We used to have that on this slide. I don't know where that went, but we've been around since 2016, and we help businesses engage with their customers over web and WhatsApp. That's the elevator pitch description in case we're short on time, and we are short on time today. But I'll tell you guys the slightly, whoops, seems like my external monitor is having some issues. Let's try to bring the screen share back on. So I guess for you guys as well, the slides just went off. Rhythm, did the slides go off for you guys?
Yes.
They did. All right. So let me unplug my monitor and do this the old-fashioned way. We can just do it on our regular old laptops. So let us move over to the slides over here. Trust you guys can see the slides again. Slides are up. Okay, so TARS has been around since 2016, helping people with web and WhatsApp engagement using chatbots. Essentially, we're trying to reimagine the way businesses interact with their customers, because we think that the traditional ways of doing it through your landing pages, through email, through SMS are broken, as you'll see in this webinar. And we thought, how do we fix this? And the solution we came to was web, and then more recently, WhatsApp chatbots. We've had the privilege of working with companies that are the leaders in their spaces. Let me move our videos out of the way so that you guys can actually see what these company names are. You can see some pretty big names up here. And this isn't to brag. I mean, it is to brag a little bit, but also it's to show you guys that if we can work with these folks over here, we can probably help you guys with your problems as well. I'm sure you've at the very least interacted with or heard of some of these companies up here. So you know the scale at which they're operating at, you know the sort of service they offer to their customers. And we are privileged to help them deliver that service. Now, I'm going to skip the intro for today, or the overview of what we're going to do, and jump right into the content. The first thing we need to do is sort of set the stage of what we are talking about today. Because if we're not on the same page about what exactly the question we are trying to answer today, the problem that we're trying to solve, then this webinar is going to be all over the place. So let's start by setting the stage for what this webinar is going to be about. So if we take a trip back to the past a couple of decades ago, not even a couple of decades ago, actually, I still remember it. And a couple of decades ago, I was a toddler. So less than a couple of decades ago, the entire experience of interacting with banks used to be offline. You primarily have to go into bank branches, get on phone calls with people to get anything, and I mean anything, done with a bank. It was almost an entirely offline experience. And then we know what happens next. Smartphones and internet come onto the scene. Everyone has a supercomputer in their pocket. That's something people used to say a couple of years ago. And those supercomputers in our pocket that hooked up to Google servers let us do everything from booking cars to come and pick us up through apps like Uber, to getting food delivered to us, and of course, to access our financial services in our palms. Banks began to offer their services online. Online banking became a thing. Mobile apps became a standard across the industry, and it was great for both banks and for customers. Banks got reach. They could reach their customers more. They could reach more customers, and customers got convenience. Going to the bank wasn't an activity that you needed a plan and set aside a day for. It was something that you could do at your own convenience on your own time. And then, of course, this past year happened, and any plans that we had went out the window. And one of the consequences of the pandemic has been it sort of accelerated this trend further. So before, digital banking was just one of the alternatives that we could use. And it was almost positioned as a nice to have. It was something that banks advertised as being, a differentiator between them and their competitors. Like, oh, look at this awesome mobile app that we have. Look at this awesome website that we have. Look at this awesome online banking portal that we have. And it moved away from being one of those things that you mention in your marketing campaigns to being an absolute necessity. It went from being a luxury to being a necessity. Now, delivering customer experience online, delivering banking services online is just a basic utility that every bank has to be doing for their customers to be able to interact with them, because obviously doing things in person has gotten a lot harder over the past year. And even high friction steps that we would have otherwise thought of as needing to have an offline component to them, things like KYC, have increasingly moved online over the past year. I mean, the rise of video KYC over the past year is testament to this. And the question that we need to ask ourselves, working in the banking industry or working with the banking industry, in our case at TARS, is what is the best way to deliver this digital customer experience? And there's no single answer to this. You obviously have to engage with customers across customer engagement channels. You have to have a website for discovery and acquisition. You have to have apps where people can access their services. You have to have social media and email to educate and engage with your customers. And the case that we are making on this webinar, the explainer that we want to do today, is to talk about how WhatsApp figures into all of this, because we think that WhatsApp is the next big customer engagement channel. And one of its big appeals, one of its big draws, is it actually does all of the above. It can do a little bit of what all of these other engagement channels can do that the banks have traditionally been using. So let's actually jump into what that looks like and talk about what WhatsApp marketing is. So today's webinar is about WhatsApp marketing in BFSI. Well, before we can jump into WhatsApp marketing for BFSI, we need to establish what WhatsApp marketing is. And funnily enough, when we're talking about what WhatsApp marketing is, the best place to start is by talking about what WhatsApp marketing is not, because there are a lot of misconceptions going around out there, and we need to dispel those before we can continue. So if you're an older webinar attendee, you will have seen this before, but if you're a newer one, pay attention. what we hear often on our calls with people is WhatsApp marketing is all about chatbots, or WhatsApp marketing is all about notifications, or all of my competitors are on WhatsApp, so I need to be on WhatsApp. Now, these are undoubtedly characteristics of WhatsApp marketing. You do build chatbots, you can send notifications, and in all likelihood, a lot of your competitors are already on WhatsApp, but they do not make WhatsApp marketing. These characteristics don't define WhatsApp marketing. And if you think of WhatsApp marketing in these terms up here, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You're probably not going to build a good WhatsApp experience because you don't understand the channel, and it's going to cost you in the long run because you will alienate your customers on the channel and they won't want to engage with you through it. What WhatsApp marketing actually is, as I mentioned before, think of it as a customer engagement channel. The same way that you think of your website, the same way that you think of your email marketing or your SMS marketing, or your social media marketing, think of WhatsApp as this entirely new channel that you have to work towards. And think about the infrastructure and the personnel that we've developed around all of these other channels. There are specialized email marketers. There are specialized social media marketers. These are entire job categories. Well, WhatsApp is going to develop over the next 5 to 10 years into a very similar sort of beast in the marketing space, where there are going to be people, entire teams dedicated to just optimizing the way banks interact over WhatsApp. And if we break down what WhatsApp marketing is even further, it can be broken down into essentially 3 parts. 1, building an audience. 2, driving conversations. And 3, re-engaging customers. So when you're talking about WhatsApp marketing, you're usually talking about one of these 3 things. And these are going to be recurring themes as we go forward in this webinar as well. Now, obviously, you can do all of those 3 things: drive conversations, build an audience on other channels as well. You can build an email list, you can build an SMS list. But why it matters on WhatsApp is because of WhatsApp's sheer reach. WhatsApp isn't a small-time player. It's basically a utility today. WhatsApp has become a verb. You WhatsApp people today. Even though it's owned by a private company, it feels a lot more like a basic utility, like water, electricity, or communication, or phone lines. And the numbers on the screen are really testament to that. 2 billion active users, 65 billion messages sent, and the most downloaded messaging app in the world. It has become the default way to communicate with one another. In fact, I can't even remember the last time I used SMS to communicate with someone. It's almost exclusively been replaced by WhatsApp. And even phone calls, actually, nowadays. I was talking to our founder, Ish, about this. It's easier to sometimes make a call to someone on WhatsApp than it is to make a regular phone call. So WhatsApp is really subsuming communication as a utility. And on top of all of this, because obviously SMS and email also have considerable reach. On top of all of this, WhatsApp is still high engagement. And that's really the killer edge that WhatsApp has. So not only does it have all of this reach, but the people who are using WhatsApp are actually using it and engaging with it. So we have high open rates, 70% plus, high response rates, 40%, which is unheard of with SMS or email, and two-way communication. Where we'll talk about this more later, but where on email and SMS, you just blast people with information. In WhatsApp, you actually engage them in a two-way conversation. So that's really the killer edge. It's marrying this high engagement with this high level of reach. So we've established what WhatsApp marketing is. It's a new customer engagement channel where you can build audiences, have conversions, and re-engage customers on WhatsApp, which is a brand new space to interact with your customers. But how does it actually help banks? So let's dive in to the specifics of how WhatsApp marketing figures into banks. And a good starting point for this is to look at the buyer journey for the average bank customer. I got this from the folks over at Acton. We did a webinar with them earlier in the year. But this is essentially all of the stages that a average bank customer goes through. They start at awareness and then they go all the way through purchase, where they buy a product. And then it's on you as a customer experience team, as a bank as a whole, to get them to love the service that you provide, see actual value out of it, and then become advocates at the end for your bank, where they actually recommend to their friends and family to actually come and use your products as well, which is where you really want to reach. That is the end goal for any bank. But of course, we do have limited time, so we can't talk about each of these stages. So for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to divide this journey up into 4 stages. Capture, where you're capturing leads; nurturing, where you are nurturing those leads to convince them to buy something; then the actual purchase process, which is an entirely separate step for banks because it's so regulated. The actual process of applying for a bank account, the actual process of applying for a credit card. Entirely different step in and of itself. And then finally, the engage step, where someone is already your customer and it's your job to engage them, get them excited about the product, get them to understand the value that they are getting from it. So let's start with the capture stage. And I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible, probably in the next 10 minutes, because let's be real, the reason you guys are here is to listen to to watch the demo that Rhythm is going to show you guys at the end of this in action. So let's start with the capture stage. As a bank, you're running marketing campaigns to bring prospective customers to your product pages. Because things are moving digital, it's generally a product page that you're bringing them to. These could be billboard ads, these could be print ads, these could be PPC ads, these could be organic social media traffic that you're driving through your accounts. They could be email marketing traffic. However you're bringing traffic to your pages, you're bringing traffic to your pages. And then once they are on your page, the next step for you is to capture lead information. That is really what you're trying to do. So you're trying to sell someone, say, a credit card. You get an ad in front of them, you get some material in front of them, they click on that, or are prompted to go to your website, they're prompted to go to your landing page. On the page, they read a little bit about the credit card, they see the fancy images that you have over there, and you ask them for their phone number. That's the holy grail. That's what you want, because then you can nurture them. If you have their phone number, their email, you can nurture them and maybe convince them to actually buy the credit card. So what do? You pull out your lead capture form. That's what everyone uses to capture phone numbers, right? You pull out a form, ask them for their phone number, ask them for their email, and then you're off to the races. But the issue is that forms don't really work well. They have notoriously low fill rates. At the top end of the spectrum, you're going to get a sub 10% fill rate, which is really quite atrocious, because that means that 90% of the time, effort, and money that you invested into bringing people to your pages is being wasted. Your ROI on that is relatively low. The ROI is relative. So if that's all that you're used to, you might think that's relatively high. But suffice it to say, the vast majority of people who land on your page, who you put in all this effort to bring to your page, don't actually share their phone number with you. They don't share their email ID with you. And this is where WhatsApp marketing can come into the picture. So the first step that we talked about in WhatsApp marketing, the first part, was building your audience. So this, in the capture stage of the buyer journey, this is where you're really going to start building your audience. So what you can do is, instead of directing people to a landing page, what you can do is direct them to a WhatsApp business number directly. We'll talk about this in the distribution section at the end. But with Facebook ads, for example, you can send people directly to a WhatsApp number. So send people directly to your WhatsApp business number. It's essentially a number where people can message you just like they message their friends or their family, but they're messaging your business, and you have a chatbot that can respond to them for you. Or you send them to a landing page, which in turn directs them to a WhatsApp number. And I'm sure you've seen this out in the wild, where people say hi to us on WhatsApp, or ICICI actually has a WhatsApp banking page that Rhythm showed me yesterday, which is just dedicated to engaging with people on WhatsApp. So create a page that directs people to your WhatsApp number, and somehow or the other, get them to your WhatsApp number and get them to start a conversation. Now, once they start the conversation, you have a chatbot living on the back end. This chatbot can answer any questions that the customer has, give them information about the product that they were interested in, and most importantly, capture their lead information. So you can actually start the lead capture process in the chat, where the chatbot asks them for details over chat, and the user shares details with the chatbot over that same chat. And this works better than a landing page, because people like having conversations. They don't like filling out forms, but they like having conversations. It's better to use WhatsApp on mobile than it is to use a landing page. And most people are accessing your landing pages through their phones. And the culmination of that is you see a higher conversion rate. People are 50% more likely, in our experience, to convert when they're interacting with the chatbot than when they are interacting with the form. Also, if you take a step back and think about the actions that a customer is going through, starting a WhatsApp conversation is a very familiar action to most users. People are used to doing it every day with their friends and family. And it's more familiar to a lot of people than navigating around a landing page on their phone. So you're giving them a more familiar experience, and one that they increasingly prefer to do. So the end result of all of this is that you have more leads entering your funnel, because you're making it easier for people to making it more engaging for people to share their information with you. So at this point of the buyer journey, we've gotten more people into your funnel. Now it's time to nurture them. So in the traditional way, what happens is you capture their lead information through your form. And I apologize for going through this really quickly. I just really want to make it to the demo section. If you guys do have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or Q&A section. We already have a couple, and we will get to them. But anyways, where was I? Getting back to this webinar. So with the traditional ways of lead capture, you capture it through a form, capture someone's email, capture someone's phone number. And once it's captured, you send those details to your CRM. And once it's in your CRM, you can run your nurturing campaigns. That's really what the CRM is. It's the hub where you can engage with your leads, engage with your customers. So you can run nurturing campaigns. Now, let's take a look at what the traditional ways of running these nurturing campaigns are, and see what the potential issues with them are. So let's start with email sequences. You capture someone's email through a form, simple enough. Now you have their email in your CRM, you run your drip sequences on them, you send them informational content about the product they were interested in, you try to bring them back to the page and complete the application process, get to that purchase stage. But the issue is that they're not actually reading these emails. And the reason that they are not reading these emails is because, let's be real, if you're the biggest bank in the world, if you're a small mom and pop shop on the corner, you're not getting into your customers' promotions tab. You're not getting out of your customers' promotions tab. You're not getting into their primary tab. You are going to be consigned to this part of the inbox that they're never going to check, whether it's on Outlook or whether it's on Gmail or whatever else your customers are using. In all likelihood, they are not going to see your email, no matter how engaging or how compelling the content is. Open rates are notoriously low on email. CTR rates are even lower. And even if you get someone to open your email, it's a one-way form of communication. Every email that we see today, it's no reply at and then the bank's name.com, right? No reply indicates you obviously don't want the customer to engage with you and respond to you. You just want them to passively consume the information, which isn't a pleasant experience for anyone, really. And that's why emails are increasingly going into promotions tabs, because they're just information blasts as opposed to actual communication. SMS, similar experience. Crowded inboxes, low open rates, low CTRs, one-way form of communication. And I think the most important point to talk about with SMS campaigns is that depending on the geography that you're in, a lot of people just don't check their SMS anymore. In India, especially, people are primed to think of SMS as, I mean, Rhythm, what do you get on your SMS? OTPs and spam, I'm guessing?
OTPs are the most important ones that I go through. Other than
Right.
that, like you'll get 100 SMSs from 100 different companies about 100 different offers. So
Exactly.
those just keep lying on my inbox.
And how often do you actually read those offers?
Never, never.
Never. Exactly. Exactly. The reason I actually chose this screenshot over here, it's actually a real estate screenshot, but the reason I chose this screenshot over here is because if you look in the top left corner, I think this is a screenshot from someone on our team. If you look in the top left corner, they have 2,126 unread messages in their SMS. I mean, like, can you imagine having 2,126 unread WhatsApp messages? I feel like I'd have an anxiety attack if I opened up my WhatsApp and I saw that many unread messages. But the point being that, again, on SMS, no one's actually reading what you send them. So regardless of how compelling the content is, it's not getting through to them. It's as good as the content not existing at all. You can call people, you have their phone number, you can call them, but that's, first of all, it's not digital. And because it's not digital, it's not scalable. You have to have actual people calling each of those customers, and the reach that digital marketing gives you and the number of leads that are coming in, the sheer volume that you have, it's not feasible to have a quick turnaround time on each of those leads that comes into your funnel through phone calls. So you're just not going to be able to respond to people and call them quick enough for them to still be warm and still be interested, even if you have very convincing salespeople on the phone who can convince.
Also, like there is a lot of noise around these voice bots, which are nothing but automated IVR systems. And like,
Yes.
according to me, if I hear an automated voice on the other side of the line, I'll just switch off. Like I'll just cut
Yeah,
the call. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, robocalls are increasingly a problem, and I feel like they're getting more and more spammy. Sometimes I don't even pick up. Actually, come to think of it, even before robocalls, I don't. Maybe this is
Yeah.
more of a younger person thing. I just don't pick up phone calls anymore because I'd rather someone sends me an SMS. If someone gives me a call, I think something is wrong or there's like an emergency. Um,
And
I'd
also
rather have
there are high chances that the person may be having true caller and they can identify like who's calling them, and they may
right,
just not pick up the call.
right, exactly. And the minute you see a business, you're not
Yeah.
going to pick it up because they're going to pitch you something. Um, so phone calls also don't really work. Your messaging is not getting to them. Retargeting campaigns, I mean, come on, guys. Uh, Retargeting campaigns is just bringing people back to your landing page. And if they're not going to read through an email or a short 140 character SMS, they're not reading through yet another landing page or the same product that they already read a landing page for. So, and plus, you're really just getting another attempt at lead capture with retargeting campaigns. You're not actually nurturing people truly. So, retargeting campaigns don't particularly work. And the end result of all of this is that it translates into fewer conversions because the whole point of lead nurturing is you give people informative content that gets them interested in your product, gets their mind space, and then that convinces them to buy. But if you can't get that content, like the key step over here is getting that content in front of the customer. If you can't get that content in front um, of your customers, then you're essentially not lead nurturing them at all. It's not even bad lead nurturing; it's just no lead nurturing going on over here. So you're already capturing fewer leads at the front. Now, with those fewer leads that you captured through your form, you're not even nurturing them properly through these channels. It's not your fault because the channels are low engagement. Nothing you can do about it. Surprise, surprise, WhatsApp marketing helps with this. So instead of relying solely on your email, text, etc., you can re-engage customers in the same WhatsApp conversation that you started. So say you used WhatsApp in the capture stage where you got someone to start a conversation with you. You captured some of their information. Now you want them to actually go through with it and reach the purchase stage. You can re-engage them on WhatsApp. And again, not to rehash the same point, but it is important. WhatsApp is a high engagement channel. We've got high open rates, high response rates, and people can meaningfully engage with the content. So all of that useful content that you were otherwise sharing through SMS and email, you share that through WhatsApp, and people are actually going to read it. They are actually going to engage with it. And you are actually going to achieve what lead nurturing sets out to do. You're actually going to convince people that it's in their best interest to buy your product because you can properly convey the benefit that you give them. And some of the things that we see used in lead nurturing campaigns at this stage of the buyer journey is you can give people content about the product that they were interested in. People increasingly, especially about financial services products, they are very keen to learn. Everyone is very keen to learn more about the products that they are buying. And obviously, you can also treat the WhatsApp chatbot like essentially a virtual um, front desk, which can book meetings with an actual relationship manager, an actual sales associate for the customer. So essentially giving them a sort of white glove service where they're talking to their own personal virtual assistant who books a call for them, and you can send this to them through a WhatsApp campaign or a WhatsApp notification. And the end result is you get more people to the purchase stage. So more people get your information, they're nurtured, and they're ready to buy, which brings us to the purchase stage. And the reason we have to break this out into its own category for banks is because the actual process of buying a financial services product is highly regulated. I don't need to tell you guys this. And that means that customers have to fill out forms and often go through a KYC process, which is very high friction. Usually, what this means is that the sales cycle slows down. And because the sales cycle slows down, lead leakage happens. People go cold, people procrastinate, and it's very hard to get people past that last 5% where you actually get them to make the purchase. So you've done all this hard work of nurturing them. It's very hard to get them to make the purchase. So let's see how WhatsApp marketing can help you achieve this and get around this form problem that we talked about. So over here, you can think of WhatsApp marketing as a supplementary sort of a nudging agent that can get people back into the purchasing process. We think about this often in terms of e-commerce, where you have cart abandonment, but you can think of WhatsApp re-engagement as a way of running form abandonment reminders. So someone started an application, send them a light nudge on WhatsApp saying, hey, you were in the middle of applying for this DMAT account. Do you want to complete that application? Do you want to come back and finish it off and see all of these benefits that we offer? And of course, product information, all stages of this buyer journey is always good, because the more excited you can get someone about your product, the more likely they are to actually buy it and actually go through the effort of making it through the KYC and all of the forms that they need to fill out. But you don't even need to stop there, honestly, because once they're re-engaged, once they're in the conversation, you can actually finish the onboarding process in the chat itself. It's not like you just need to nudge them and say, hey, come back to the website and fill out this information. You can actually collect that information in the chat, because they have an input box and they can send images, they can send text to you. You can finish the onboarding process in the chat itself. And we actually did a whole webinar about this. I'm not going to rehash it with the folks over at Karza, who are the eKYC API provider. We did a webinar with them earlier this year, which you guys should definitely check out. It's on our website if you want to learn more about that. I'll get someone from our team to drop a link to that in the chat for you guys to check out. But the point is, if you do all of this, if you use WhatsApp marketing correctly, you can get more people through the purchase process faster. So your sales cycle is increasing, fewer people are leaking out, and you get more conversions, which finally brings us to the engage section of this journey. I'm going to finish this in lightning fast speed because I want to get to the demo as quickly as possible. This is, in my opinion, the most interesting part of the entire buyer journey, because traditionally, after a customer is onboarded, they have access to all of the perks of being a customer. So they have access to your online banking. They have access to your fancy mobile app that's all plastered all over your ads. But if you think about it, they have to make sense of all of these products on their own. And the reason I am using products, plural, over here is because you're really talking about products. Even if they haven't bought multiple products from you, so they haven't bought multiple financial services products from you, they don't have a credit card and an account, they maybe just have an account, they're still interacting with your many products, because they have the account, which is one product, the online banking on their laptop, which is another product that they're interacting with, and then they have your mobile app, which is a third product. So they have to make sense of all of those products on their own. They have to figure out how to use your mobile app. They have to figure out how to use your online portal. And then they have to worry about what the benefit they're actually getting from banking with you. So it's quite daunting for most people. They have to take the initiative. They have to take a lot of time out of their day to figure out how your financial service benefits them. And usually the only time they actually interact with someone from the bank and they actually get a human being to talk to them is when something goes wrong. They can't figure something out. Something's wrong, not working with the mobile apps. They can't find a detail that they need to. They're frustrated. They give you a call on your helpline and then they scream at the person on the other end. That's the only time they're actually interacting with you. And that doesn't make for a meaningful relationship with your customers. And again, remember, the end goal with this is to create advocates, people who will go out and tell their friends and family to bank with you. This is not how you do that. If you're only talking to your customers when something goes wrong, if you're that reactionary, you're not going to turn them into an advocate. In fact, it's going to do the opposite. I can't tell you the number of times people have complained to me about their bank, where the number of times people complain to me about their bank versus the number of times people actually have something positive to say about it is at least a 2-to-1 ratio, and that's being generous. I hear people often complain about bank helplines. And the end result of this is, like I was just saying, people who are uninformed, people who can't get things done with your products, they're less likely to buy more products. It's going to be very hard for you to convince them to buy a credit card or to open up a DMAT account. It's going to be more likely for them to churn, and it is going to be less likely that they advocate for you. So it's less likely that you get those all important word of mouth referrals at the end. So let's see how WhatsApp marketing figures into this. And once we do that, I'm going to hand it off to Rhythm and we'll be off to the races with the demo. So What you can do with WhatsApp marketing is you can supplement your products with educational materials using, again, WhatsApp campaigns and WhatsApp notifications. This is, again, the re-engagement part of WhatsApp marketing. What you can do is your aim over here is to help customers understand how they benefit from your product. So they truly understand what the value of signing up for this product was. And when they do that, they feel happier about having signed up for it, and they feel happier about their relationship with you as a bank. So one thing that you can do is send WhatsApp onboarding campaigns to bring people into the fold. So send them helpful tips on how to use your products better. Send them resources on how they can get the most out of your banking, your online banking, and your mobile app. Just set them up to properly make use and to actually get benefit from the products that you just sold them. Because if they actually see benefit out of it, then they're going to be happier with you. That's going to increase their satisfaction. Your CSAT scores will go up. It'll make them more likely to recommend you to someone else. But you don't even have to stop just at onboarding, because why onboard them and then just leave them on their own with your mobile app and your online banking? You can use WhatsApp as a channel to deliver ongoing service to your customers throughout the customer life cycle. So the way you can think about this in your mind is think about your chatbot as a virtual relationship manager. For all intents and purposes, it is a virtual assistant in their pocket and a customer support assistant as well, because it's a chatbot. It can contain as much knowledge as it wants to. It's essentially a virtual assistant in your customer's pocket that can answer any questions that they have about your products, about your apps, about your website. It can help them manage their finances in chat. So using an API integration, simple API integrations, you can let them perform basic tasks in the chat. So for example, think of a repetitive task. You want to check your balance. You don't want to open up the app, sign in. You don't want to open up your laptop and sign in. Hop into the WhatsApp chatbot, say, hey, what's my balance? The WhatsApp chatbot, already based on your number, can figure out what your account is. And you've obviously verified that you are you, and it is linked to your account. It can say, this is what your balance is. As simple as that. The customer's probably already in WhatsApp, so they don't even have to change the app. They can just move to a different chat in WhatsApp and get that information done. And of course, you can offer them supplemental product suggestions as well, which is what a relationship manager does in real life. Anyways, hey, you're a gold card member. You're eligible for an upgrade to platinum. Do you want to make that upgrade? This is why it benefits you. These are the advantages that you get from going from gold to platinum. Should I sign you up for this? You're already eligible. I already know from looking at our database that you are eligible. You can deliver that kind of value to people ongoing while they are your customer. And that, again, helps you expand them and expand your business with them. And the end result of this is more customers and more customers at the end, more expanded customers at the end. So you already have this set of customers. You're now selling them more products. They are going to tell their friends and family about the awesome service that they got through you. That's going to result in more customers. You deliver them good service, and it's just a virtuous cycle where a small group of customers leads to more customers. You're essentially creating a flywheel business. But that's all well and good to talk about, and we've reached the most important part of this webinar. It's great for me to talk about all of this, but what does it actually look like to implement any of this stuff in practice? If it's going to take all of your time, then does it actually make sense? Well, to answer those questions, that's why I have Ritham on this call with me, on this webinar with me. I'm going to hand it over to Ritham finally, 40 minutes into the webinar. Though we did start, in my defense, we did start 6 minutes late. So I'm still doing decently well on time. So Ritham, over to you to talk about how WhatsApp marketing actually works.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just share my screen.
Yep. Go for it.
It's visible, right? Yeah, so setting up WhatsApp marketing with TARS is pretty easy. Like there are 4 basic steps that we need to look into. The first is getting the WhatsApp business API for your business. Now, the first step is the most time consuming process, but like once you have the WhatsApp business API in place, then it's a pretty smooth journey. Like what you need to do to get this. So first of all, we'll discuss what's the difference between a normal WhatsApp business account and a WhatsApp business API account. So a normal WhatsApp business account is just a WhatsApp consumer app that's lying on your phone. People can basically respond to it, and it works in similar way as your normal WhatsApp consumer app. So the only difference is that you'll get that message saying that you are talking to a business, or this is a business account. So with WhatsApp Business API, you can do automations, you can get the APIs from us, you can configure it with your systems, and you can trigger messages from your system. And other than that, you can do campaigns from our dashboard, like the same way that you do the SMS campaigns or the email campaigns. WhatsApp campaigns work the same way. Like you have to upload a list, select a template message, and then shoot that message to all of those users. So once you have the WhatsApp, so the process is pretty easy. Like you just have to submit a form. And once you submit the form, like we as customer success managers will be helping you out throughout the process. So like since it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, so the best way to utilize that time is to make the workflow on the side. So I'll be switching screens in between so that you like I also show you like how the actual dashboard also looks like. So like once you have submitted for WhatsApp Business API, what you can do is go to our dashboard in the make section. So people who are already familiar with our dashboard would know like how easy it is to build a workflow. So this is a workflow that we'll be showing you in the webinar. So these are called gambits. Like as you can see, these have some message bubbles, they have some options, and each option is taking them to a particular branch. So in this particular case, if someone selects upgrade my card, they'll basically go to this particular branch, and so on and so forth. So we do have some help docs around this, and we have done some webinars around like how to make a chatbot as well. So you can go through those. So yeah, like once the flow is set up, once your API key is ready, once you get the API key from us, so the next step is to, um, so the second step was building the chatbot flow. The third step is building your audience. In the meanwhile, you can like once you have the API key with you, it is pretty easy to add it to your account. So this is the account level dashboard. Like once you log into the TARS account, this is how it will appear. Like you'll have your chatbots, and from the settings section in the WhatsApp tab, you'll be able to add a number, like add a WhatsApp number basically. And once you click on add a number, you just have to put your WhatsApp business number and the API key, and then just click on this particular button. So once you do it, your WhatsApp, the WABA number, the WhatsApp business API number is added to your account, and then you can configure it with any of your chatbots. So yeah, the next step is building an audience. Like so WhatsApp as a channel, it does not want to become like, since it's a private company, it does not want to become another channel like SMS or email. Like where so to prevent that, to prevent businesses from spamming their users, WhatsApp have certain guidelines and principles in place. So what these guidelines basically, the guidelines are basically around two main things. One is to whom you can send the messages to, and what type of messages you can send. So in the first part, to whom you can send the messages to, there is a very simple guideline saying that you can only send messages to those people who have opted in to receive messages from you. So opt-ins can be gathered in different channels. As you can see, like you can have a WhatsApp widget installed in your landing page, from where people can click that particular widget and land onto your WhatsApp chatbot. The other is through Facebook ads, like in the Facebook ads. So a WhatsApp business number can basically be converted into a QR code or a link. So that link can be used in various ad channels. You can use the link in email campaign saying that we are now on WhatsApp, click on this button to chat with us on WhatsApp or to receive updates from us over WhatsApp. So once you have that in place, once the flow is built, once people have interacted with your WhatsApp chatbot, once people have landed on your WhatsApp chatbot, this is how it will look like. So this is a dummy chatbot that we have created for this particular webinar. And as you can see, like it has the TARS logo, it will have your logo. Instead of dummy, it will have your business name, and it will have your business details over here. So now people have landed to your WhatsApp chatbot. Once they send a message to this WhatsApp number, now it is the automated conversations that will come into picture. Now, as you can see, welcome to TARS Bank Limited. I'm Tarlok, your virtual assistant. How can I help you with? So these are the three options that we are showing them. So now if you come back to the maker dashboard, you can see like how we have configured. You can change the messaging, like it's a pretty easy DIY platform. Like you can make structure, like I think Arnav made it within, I would say 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes.
Yep,
Uh,
I needed to create one branch to show you guys, and it literally took me 10 or 15 minutes to make this. So you can imagine building out a whole flow can take at
right.
max a day.
Right. So yeah, this is the part where Arnav discussed about capturing the lead. So the lead has now interacted with your business. You have captured the lead information. Now, suppose I have interacted with this chatbot. I've just replied with hi. I started my KYC process, but I dropped off in between. But now I know, I as a business know where I have left off, and I can re-engage that particular user from that point. Like I have uploaded my PAN card, but I would need I would need the Aadhaar card as well. So to re-engage the user, to help them fill out the whole KYC process, so I can send them a notification saying that your Aadhaar card details are still pending. Why don't you upload an image of your Aadhaar? So what we can do is now coming to the retargeting part. And before the retargeting part, I'll talk about the other policy of WhatsApp of what type of messages you can send. So whenever it is a whenever it is a chatbot or a business initiated conversation, you just cannot send any type of message. So since WhatsApp, like all these steps are taken to prevent spam. So the main thing that WhatsApp says that you cannot send anything promotional, but the promotional messages can lie there inside the chatbot. And adding a template message is also pretty easy from our dashboard. Like as I showed you, the portion where you are basically adding a number, over here you can see this add a template message button. So once you click over here, you just need to name your template message, type in your template message, and then submit for approval. Once you submit for approval, it goes straight to the Facebook team, and depending on whether they have approved or not, you will be able to see the status over here. Like you can see approved, this one got rejected, this one approved. So all these things are possible from the dashboard itself. Now coming to the part of WhatsApp campaigns, now your list is built, you have captured the lead information, now you want to re-engage them. So the campaigns part lies inside the lies inside the chatbot panel. Like this is how the chatbot panel looks like. We are in the build section. If you go to distribute section over here, you'll be able to see the WhatsApp button. Now, once you click over here, you will see the create campaign button where you can basically upload a list, select a template message, and then shoot that template message to that particular list of users. So this is also pretty easy. Like you just have to create campaign. I'll put test, not test, webinar 0209. So I've downloaded this file. It had only my number. I'll upload this sheet. I'll select a template message. So all these messages are pre-approved from WhatsApp. So suppose I want to send them this message. Your message reached us while we were not available. Can we contact you concerning your question again? If so, please reply to this message with yes. So I'll click on create campaign. This will get added to my campaigns queue. And once I hit run campaign, a pop-up will come. I'll confirm it. And this will ultimately trigger that message to my WhatsApp number. So as you can see, I got this message, your message reached us while you were not available. So if I reply with yes, then again, this will trigger the chatbot conversation. Welcome to Tars Bank Limited. And suppose like if I want to upgrade my card, I can select the option 1. It will take me to this particular flow as I showed you in the make section. So you can show them like what all benefits are there with the card upgrade, and then again it will ask you, like it will reconfirm you whether you want to upgrade or not. Now again, like if I reply with 1, it will basically capture my information, and all these information can be sent to your CRM on a real-time basis using API integrations.
And it's also able to fetch from your CRM, right? So like, for example, over here, using your number, it knows who you are, and it can pull the necessary data. It doesn't need to ask you to submit resubmit all of that data again, right? Because it
Yeah.
already knows you've already presumably been approved for a card before this, and it needs to upgrade you, so it needs to confirm details for you, as
Right,
opposed to
right.
collecting all those details again,
So
which
the
is very
starting
tiring.
message can itself be like your credit score is this much. We see that you can upgrade to this, like the platinum card, the gold card, or the silver card. So they can give you options. You can basically go through those options, know the benefits of those particular cards, and then you can select like to which card you need to upgrade to. So yeah, that was pretty much it, like the capture and re-engagement process. And regarding the customer support bit, like you can have these APIs integrated with your system, and if you want to send them EMI reminders or some card payment reminders, so you can send that on a regular basis. Like it will be triggered from your system, not our system. So those things are also possible using the WhatsApp Business APIs. So
Right.
yeah, I think
Yep. I think we pretty much covered everything, and the rest of the time that we have left, we have about 6 minutes left, but we can probably stay on for a few minutes later as well. We can use to answer your guys' questions. So today's webinar is interesting because we actually had webinar. We had questions for this webinar before the webinar start time. So I usually join these webinars a few minutes early, so that people, just so that I can set up, like get all the permissions in order, get my slides up. I know people like to enter early, but so I like to keep the Zoom open early as well. I jump into the Zoom and we already have two questions over here. So let's take a look at all of these questions one by one, see if we can answer all of them by the end of the session. So we have a super long one over here from Rahul. Um, no particular order. If an end user started completing the KYC process on mobile app and dropped off in between, let's say they uploaded Aadhaar card, but it did not upload PAN card within 1 hour. How do you recommend we target this set of users? Is it advisable to capture their phone number and ask for consent beforehand so that we can nudge them on their WhatsApp number to upload the PAN card and then move to the next step? How complex would the integration be integration capture integration be to capture this info on mobile and trigger the nudge on WhatsApp? So first answer is you absolutely do want to ask for consent. We actually hosted a webinar about this recently about getting WhatsApp opt-ins. It's essentially a best practice, but WhatsApp has a mechanism in place to ensure that you are getting opt-ins. So you absolutely do want to get their consent. Second question is more, the rest of the questions I think are more for your expertise, Ritam.
Yeah. So how complex would it be to integration? Would it be the integration capture on this info? Yeah. So it can happen either ways. Like you can download the list of users from your app who have not completed the KYC, and or you can configure the API in your system itself. Like you know that this person has uploaded his PAN, but there are a few more details that I want to take. So it can happen from your system itself. Like a WhatsApp message can be triggered saying that we missed all these information. Like, would you want to upload your Aadhaar card now? So you can have the entire KYC process completed on WhatsApp instead of your app. And yeah, a better way to do that is like, why not do the whole process of KYC on WhatsApp itself? Like
Right.
the KYC process itself can happen over WhatsApp so that we can retarget the same user again and again until they go till the end of the KYC completion.
Right. So next question we have over here is, how can you automate Setu APIs on WhatsApp for payments?
So I'll quickly share the make section. So I'll show you how APIs can be configured really easily on our system. So what you can do is, as I showed you, like these are the gambits. One gambit, like after this particular flow, we can add one gambit, which will be your API trigger gambit. And over here, we can have the API configuration that will post all the details onto your CRM. And I guess like Setu also provides the endpoint URL. It will provide the headers, the body, and once you have all of that in place, the information will get automatically passed on from this to your Setu app.
Right. Okay. Also, how can you do push notifications and targeted campaigns for BFSI clients on WhatsApp? So I think we covered that I think this is one of the questions we got before the webinar. I think we covered that in the webinar. So I think we can move past that question. If you feel like we didn't cover it in the webinar, feel free to ask a follow-up, but I'll move on to the next question for now. What will the cost per lead look like through this platform? I presume you're talking about the capture process. Do the calculation of that. I think the cost per lead, if you get, for example, a 50% higher conversion rate is, I've been thinking about it this way, right? Some of our people,
Yeah,
sorry,
we
go ahead.
don't charge as per lead. We charge on the usage, like number of notifications that you are sending on the platform. Now, the conversion rate, it all depends. It goes back to your messaging, like if it actually is adding value to your user or not.
Right. Okay. How many users can you have on one WhatsApp number? If you have a
Uh,
chatbot on the back end, infinite, right? Essentially infinite.
yes, you can have infinite number of users. Yes.
Yeah, since it's a piece of software. I mean, like, how many users can you have? Think about it this way: how many users can you have on your website at the same time? There's
Right.
no there's no limit to it. So it's the same for your WhatsApp chatbot. It's a piece of software on the back end, just like your website is.
For the pricing, Arvind, I would suggest you contact our sales team, because it all goes back to the usage. Like depending on your usage, we would be charging you. Depending on the number of
Right.
conversations you would be having, depending on the number of template messages you would be sending.
Right. We'll drop a link to that in the chat. Or you can use the link over here, bit.ly/stars WhatsApp chatbot. All right. That's all of our questions for the day. And guess what? We answered the last question at the exact end time of this webinar. That isn't an achievement. Then I don't know what it is. It is exactly the end time of the webinar. It's the first time this has happened. We usually end before or after. I'm going to end this webinar as quickly as possible so we don't go to, oh man, we went a minute past. It's okay. Minute is the closest I've gotten. But thank you all for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting this webinar for you guys. As always, great questions at the end. I think the webinars are a lot more fun, even for us as hosts, when you guys ask questions, and you guys asked some great questions today. As always, we'll send you guys a recording to this webinar. We put the recording and the slides up for free on our website. So head over to hellotars.com. The webpage that you used to sign up for this webinar, that's where we put up the recording and the slides. So also keep a lookout for our email. We will send the link to that webinar recording over email. And actually, we sent out a WhatsApp campaign for this webinar as well. So we might even send out the webinar recording over WhatsApp.
We
Actually
can
get
do
it in
that.
front of you so that you guys actually see it. But yeah, thanks for joining the webinar. Always a pleasure hosting it for you guys. And Ritham, thank you so much for joining this webinar. Guys, I cannot stress to you how happy I am that Ritham is on this webinar, because I would not have been able to do that demo without Ritham here. Major stage fright doing technical demos on these webinars. So Rhythm, huge shout out to you for joining this
Thanks a
webinar.
lot. Thank you,
Thank
Arnav. And
you.
thank you
Thank you.
everyone
Yeah.
for attending. Yeah.
All right. Keep a lookout for our future webinars.